so enw fi yw Kylie Daniels, diolch am y gwahoddiad. Dwi'n swyddog cydraddoldeb am brifddiad ar iaith Cymraeg i Heddlu Dyfed Powys. So I'm an Equality, Diversity and Welsh Language Officer for Dyfed Powys Police. Came to this post a year last July in the middle of what's now become the normal life of a pandemic, I think. So yeah, took on the role during quite a funny sort of period, I suppose, but hopefully took advantage of the period as well and took advantage of the circumstances we were under, which I will probably touch upon a little with you all. I've got a short presentation, nothing much. I don't really read off slides, I'll be honest. It's just with a few facts and figures in, just i chi gael gweld beth ni'n neud fel Heddlu Dyfed Powys. Mae'r ffigurau ni wedi cynyddu llawer dros y blynyddoedd diwetha ynglyn â'r iaith Gymraeg. Felly, os na i edrych ar y sleid ar ochr hyn, sori. Mae'r sleid gynta, lefelau Cymraeg yn Heddlu Dyfed Powys, so the Welsh language levels in Dyfed Powys Police. O'n i'n meddwl bod yn pwysig rhoi hwn mewn. I do think it's quite important to see this, only because you can see that the levels 1, 2 and 3 have all increased quite a lot. 1 and 3 have increased quite a lot, level 2 not as much. Level 4 a little and level 5 a little as well. So that's figures from 2020 to 2021. So it's nice to see that they have increased. So mae cynyddiant tyma bach gyda ni. Ni'n neud lot o gwaith ar y foment i trial neud siŵr bod pawb gyda'r lefelau iawn arno fel mae system gyda ni mewnol. Jyst i neud siŵr bod pawb gyda'r lefelau iawn na. Jyst i ni cael ddeall, really, os i ni'n cynrychioli'r cyhoedd yn iawn. So we are doing some work to make sure that the internal figures are okay. Just bach yn conscious bod fi'n gweud popeth yn dwyieithog, felly bod e'n mynd yn boring i chi, fi yn sori. So cymuned ar gweithle. Mae'n rili pwysig i ni fel heddlu bod ni'n gallu cynrychioli'r cyhoedd. It's one of the most important things. We need to make sure that we can represent our communities properly. O'r figurau census diwetha, so it is quite aged. The last census figures, we were bang on basically. Literally a few percentages here and there that we were, our level 3 was a little bit below or a lot above. Mae Sir Gyfyrddin a Ceredigion yw'r llefydd fwyaf yn Heddlu Dyfed Powys sy'n siarad Cymraeg, a mae gyda ni swyddogion a staff sy'n gallu siarad Cymraeg i'r un lefel a'r un canran. So we are hitting our sort of target to make sure we can represent our public and the people that we are serving as a police service. The level 3 I've put on the next slide, Emyr, if you don't mind. It can be quite a surprise to people. Fi'n siŵr mae pobl yn meddwl bod level 3 yn eitha uchel, a mae eisiau chi gwybod y treigliadau a'r geiriau iawn. But you don't have to know the mutations, you don't have to know every single word to be at level 3. Fel chi gallu gweld, gallu sgwrsio'n rhannol yn Gymraeg a troi nôl i'r Saesneg i trafod ac i gyflwyno. So, you know, if you can converse mostly in Welsh and turn back to English in discussions, but can describe people and places quite well, which comes with a lot of practice sometimes and repetitiveness, you are a level 3. So this is a lot of work we're doing internal and mewnol ar y foment. Yw gweithio ar fel ydyn ni fel y heddlu gallu gweld pobl sy'n falle moyn cael swyddi gyda ni, fod y level 3 ddim mor uchel falle na beth nhw'n meddwl. So we are trying to get people to realise that the level 3 level isn't as high as what they think maybe, and if they are keen to apply for roles, not to leave them put it off. We are working a lot more on getting higher levels in Dyfed Powys Police, so maybe your students will see that if they are keeping an eye on the jobs that are up and coming over the next months, years mostly, the levels are going to increase, which is very exciting for the Welsh language, I feel. On the next slide then, I've just gone through one of our requirements. So un o gofynion ni fel heddlu yw bod rhaid I pawb fod ar lefel 1 Cymraeg. So it's not too bad a requirement really. It's everybody has to be at level 1 Welsh language. So basic linguistic courtesy, that is. Bore da, prynawn da, siwr i chi, can say some place names. You've got Llanelli, one of the ones in our force area, Cyflwyniad, a lot of people sort of struggle with. That our staff and officers have got that basic welcome, greeting, goodbye in Welsh. Mae hwn yn dod mewn cyn bod rhywun yn dechrau'r swydd, so it comes in with the introduction pack. They're given 6 months to complete a 10-hour course online trwy dysgu Cymraeg. If you haven't used Learn Welsh, or please, they're amazing. They help us out so much in organising lessons and courses. So within that first 6 months, it is expected that people do complete the level 1 requirement, or if they can't for some reason, that they have already come to us to explain why. On the next slide, I've got a little bit of an overview, just i gweud beth yw'r lefel 1, gallu dyngos cwrteisi ieithyddol trwy geiriau Cymraeg, just i dechrau trafod, dechrau sgwrs gyda pobl. We encourage this daily in Heddlu Dyfed Powys. Mae'n rhaid i fi gweud, I suppose, achos dwi'n siarad Cymraeg, mae'n rhaid i fi cael wneud hwn. But there's been a huge increase in the amount of people who are keen to learn and keen to welcome in Welsh, especially since we've had our new Chief Constable. Un o blaenoriaethau fe yw'r iaith Cymraeg, so one of his priorities is the Welsh language, and that has fed down quite quickly within Dyfed Powys Police. A wedyn, cyfleoedd mewnol, so internal opportunities on the next slide. So, ni'n really lwcus fel llu, fi'n credu, wel, fi'n credu mae fe dal ar y safbwynt, ni yw'r unig llu Cymraeg sydd yn cynnal wersi yn ystod amser gwaith, neu mae'r person yn cael amser nôl, amser gwaith nôl, a mae hwn yn cael ei ariannu'n llawn. Mae llawer o cyfleoedd gyda nhw i wneud hyn. Mae gwersi on-line, so they can learn online, they can choose a course in a local library, a local hall, they can come to lessons in headquarters, or they can do an online group lesson. There's loads of different options that we really try and encourage people to do, because we are quite conscious. Obviously, officers are on shifts, got very high stress jobs, they've got a lot of overtime, maybe extra hours. So some of them people just pick up courses that they can do here and there. We've got a mentoring scheme, so yn fewnol, os ydych chi gallu siarad Cymraeg, so if you can speak Welsh or you're learning Welsh, we try and pair you up with a mentor. So the mentor and the mentee meet once a week, once a fortnight, whenever suits them, just to discuss anything they wish through the medium of Welsh. We did this during the pandemic. It was an opportunity, I think, for people to sort of talk to each other. I think everyone started working from home, sort of feeling a bit lonely maybe. So there's an opportunity to get to know other people that you probably wouldn't speak to, and just to speak about something that isn't work. Because I think we all went down a little rabbit hole of only discussing work. We got our Iaith ar Waith group. This is where our strategy is discussed, and our Welsh language champions attend, and we just make decisions on any issues or any of the standards that we're struggling to meet or people are struggling to understand. And this fits into our next strategic group then, which is the Embracing Diversity Board. So we have got quite a lot of different areas within the force where the Welsh language is sort of driven and constantly reminded, i trial hybu'r iaith tyma bach. Ar slide nesa, and I suppose that's why I'm here. So, pam mae siarad Cymraeg mor pwysig mewn plismonna? Wel, yn Heddlu Dyfed Powys, mae'n mor pwysig i'r cyhoedd, i darparu'r cymorth ar y degau anodd. Mae rai pobl yn cael newyddion jyst iawn ar y dyddiol yn anffodus. Os mae swyddog yn troi lan sy'n gallu siarad Cymraeg a na'r iaith gynta, iaith thafodaeth nhw, mae'r neges tyma bach fwy personol. So during difficult times, people do want an officer who can speak that person's preferred language. I used to work in the witness care unit, and a person would open up so different. If they wanted to speak Welsh, you could feel them opening up different completely from what the English conversation was going to. Mae'n cynyddu ymgysylltiad, mae lot fwy o pobl. If you approach a person, you start speaking Welsh to them and they can speak Welsh, you can see that light come from somewhere sometimes, and they engage with you differently. And just to provide that quality of service, mae mor pwysig i ni, just dim achos y safonau, and just tick box a gael rhaid siarad Cymraeg. Mae'n pwysig i ni'n fel heddlu i trial hybu pobl i moyn siarad Cymraeg a dysgu Cymraeg. So it's not that case of it's a legal requirement, tick that box. It's making people want to learn, want to use the language by getting these different groups together, by having champions, by having these schemes to sort of encourage people to think of the language and see the opportunities available to them. Ar y slide nesaf, Emyr, mae fideo bach o'n i wedi creu blwyddyn diwetha. Os ti'n clico yn canol y fideo, felly bydd yn wara, sa'n siŵr os bydd y sain yn dod.
Rydym ni yn Heddlu Dyfed Powys yn falch iawn o'n iaith ac hefyd o'n treftadaeth, ac mae'n bwysig iawn ein bod ni'n defnyddio'r iaith wrth i ni gyfathrebu gyda'n cymunedau ac wrth i ni roi'r gwasanaeth gorau posib.
Shwmai, dyma rhai o'n staff sy'n gweithio i'r heddlu sy'n defnyddio Cymraeg pob dydd yn y gweithle.
Rwy'n dechrau sgersau drwy gyfrwng y iaith Cymraeg, ac dwi'n teimlo bod hwn yn helpu aelodau y cyhoedd i ymgysylltu â mi.
Rwy'n defnyddio'r Gymraeg wrth siarad gyda dioddefwyr i sicrhau eu bod yn teimlo'n gyfforddus ac yn cael eu cefnogi.
Rwy'n rhoi cyfle i'r cyhoedd o hebu drwy gyfrwng Gymraeg drwy anfon pob gohebiaeth yn ddwyieithog.
Rwy'n derbyn ac yn ymateb i ymoliadau, cwynion neu gymoliaeth drwy gyfrwng y Gymraeg.
Rwy'n siarad Cymraeg wrth ymdrin â digwyddiadau ac wrth ymgysylltu â'r cyhoedd fel heddwas gymunedol.
Rwy'n siarad Gymraeg wrth gymdeithasu gyda fy nghydweithwyr i annog eraill i sgwrsio yn Gymraeg.
Rwy'n cynnig cymorth sydd wedi ei deilwrau i anghenion dioddefwyr.
Mae siarad Cymraeg yn fy ngalluogi i gyfathrebu â phlant mewn ysgolion i'w cefnogi tuag at ddyfodol gwell.
Mae'n swydd i'n galluogi holl swyddogion y staff yr heddlu i gyfathrebu'n ysgrifenedig drwy gyfrwng y Gymraeg.
Mae'n swydd i yn sicrhau bod staff a swyddogion yn cael y cyfle i ddysgu Cymraeg yn y gwaith.
Rwy'n siarad ag aelodau o'r cyhoedd ar y ffôn drwy gyfrwng y Gymraeg. Mae hyn yn ei helpu i deimlo'n mwy cyfforddus ac yn mwy gysylltiedig wrth ddefnyddio eu iaith frodorol.
Rwy'n siarad Cymraeg yn chyda sefydliadau allanol. Mae defnyddio'r iaith yn helpu ffurfio perthynas ac yn rhoi ymdeimlad o berthynas.
A wedyn y dyfodol, so the future, fel o'n i jyst i gweud, mae'r Prif Constable newydd, un o blaenoriaethau fe yw'r iaith Cymraeg. So the new Chief Constable's, one of his priority is the Welsh language. By ni yn yr Eisteddfod blwyddyn hyn, ni wedi bod yn lwcus iawn bod yn Tregaron, so we will be in Tregaron Eisteddfod. And after that Eisteddfod, well, during the Eisteddfod, there's going to be a lot of work around the different levels within Dyfed Powys Police. The importance of Welsh within the police force, and after that there will be a Welsh-only police officer recruitment campaign. Creu hwnna'n pwysig iawn i pobl ifanc gweld nawr, achos fel arfer mae'r ymgyrch yma bach yn llai o seis, so I'm not saying that they'd have a better chance of getting in, but it is less, it's less size. The applicants are there's always less applicants for the Welsh-only police officer recruitment. So there's a really good opportunity for people who can speak levels 3 to maybe get in touch. Os mae peth o plant chi o neu disgyblion chi yn wylo i dechrau gyda'r heddlu, mae un ymgyrch dim yn mas nawr, mis Mawrth. So there's one campaign out right now. It's gone out, I think, this morning. They can start looking at that, but just make them aware that hopefully August, September time, there'll be a Welsh-only one as well. So mae'r census newydd yn dod o mas, ni'n dechrau gweithio yn y strategaeth newydd ni sydd bydd yn mas blwyddyn hyn. Yn y strategaeth newydd bydd pwyntio hyn i gyd a bydd fwy o'r sensws, a hefyd yn ystod mis hyn, Mawrth mawr yn Heddlu Dyfed Powys. Mae surveys dim yn mas, so we've done surveys to try and understand what we need to do as a department to encourage the use of Welsh. Some of the questions I've been really cheeky asking basically is, if you can't speak Welsh, how do you feel about people speaking Welsh around you? Surprisingly, some people have ticked, I think it's rude. So then I'm going to have to try and work out how do we get around this and get people to understand that that's someone's preferred language choice. So there's going to be a lot of work done. I think our strategy is going to look a lot different this year to 3 years ago. We're always going to encourage people to use Welsh in the workplace. We're always going to encourage people to learn Welsh, and we are going to be trying to target schools, colleges, young farmer groups, and when people are at, or students are at that age where they're not sure where to go, not sure if they want to join, don't want to join, we will be targeting, and there will be an emphasis on how important it is to speak Welsh as well. Sorry, I'm very conscious, dwi'n siarad gloi iawn, but that is the end. Diolch yn fawr.
Os gen unrhyw cwestiynau, os gwelwch yna i naill un o'r gwesteion ni. Has anyone got any questions for our guests, please?
Janice sydd fan hyn, cwestiwn bach i Kylie. Bydde diddordeb da fi wybod mwy am eich pencampwyr y Gymraeg. Faint sydd gyda chi, a hefyd os gyda nhw rôl neilltuol fel pencampwyr y Gymraeg?
Ie, mae'r pencampwyr, mae tua 20 gyda ni, give or take, mae rhaid i gadael. So we've got about 20 Welsh language champions within the force. Mae fe'n volunteer based, so pwy bynnag sy'n gyda diddordeb yn yr iaith, any interest in the language, they not volunteer then, they bring themselves forward and say they'd like to be a champion. Their roles predominantly is when they're out and about in stations, a lot of them are PCSOs and police officers will climb the ranks, who are now sergeants, inspectors or chief inspectors. Their roles is to make themselves known as a Welsh language champion, and to guide and support colleagues around them and to point them in the right direction. So, dyn ni ddim yn disgwyl nhw fod yn arbenigwyr. We don't expect them to be experts at all. I am far from an expert in the Welsh language standards myself. I gweud y gwir, I think it's very much, you know, the basics, and it's one step at a time. They can be interpreted so differently. Therefore, I do go back and forth with the Welsh Language Commissioner's Office a lot myself. So they're not expected to be experts at all. They're just expected to get the Welsh language out there, make sure that people are using it and adhering to the standards. Because I am very conscious that it's on top of the day-to-day jobs as well then, see. So they're under so much pressure anyway. I just really do appreciate when people are ready to sort of volunteer. They come to our iaith ar waith meetings, so Welsh in the workplace. Mae'r cyfarfod na gyd amdano hybu a rwyddo'r Cymraeg a siarad amdano unrhyw problemau. They are so valuable to us. Some of them can't speak Welsh, which is brilliant, and we can really rely on the people who can't speak Welsh sometimes to give that perspective that maybe fluent Welsh speakers just don't have. So yeah, gobeithio oedd yna di ateb cwestiwn ti.
Ie, diolch yn fawr iawn, Kylie. Mae un cwestiwn arall gyda fi. Na i ddweud hwn yn Saesneg nawr, jyst i ddangos bod fi yn gallu siarad Saesneg. Do you think that the requirement to have the level 1 courtesy Welsh, does that impact on recruitment? Does it put people off applying? Because yes, we have a big recruitment issue, people with Welsh language skills and Siaradbenfro. I was just wondering, does that have any bearing on the number of applications with yourselves?
It's a really, really difficult one. So we've got a positive action team who support people when they're applying for jobs within Dyfed Powys Police. They're an amazing team who are sort of there to alleviate these worries or issues. What we tend to do, so pob tro mae rhywun newydd, mae recrwtio i newydd yn dechrau, staff neu swyddogion, we give an input with all new recruits. So I will always ask at that point, I go through well, not all the standards, but the top tips for the standards then, and just give them sort of support and guidance and know where to go. But I'll always ask about the level 1 and did they put them off. By that point, they've already done the level 1. So most people say, no, just fine. So I think it's a really hard one to sort of get the right data on. We're working very closely with HR at the moment, and I'm working on a video. So this video is going to be for a person who couldn't speak any Welsh at all. He said he found it quite difficult that 10 hours, but since starting the job, he's realised the usefulness of it. So we're going to record him saying something along these lines, and it's going to be attached then to our attainments within the role profiles. And we're going to do the same now for the level 3, because what we tend to do is we go out level 1 and level 3 a lot in Dyfed Powys, unless it's like a specialist role. So, for example, when I was witness care officer, they were level 4 requirements because we had to write a lot in Welsh as well. Felly, hoffwn I meddwl falle na, but I suppose we're not going to know, because those people who may be put off will never get to us, if you understand what I mean. So it is something we're conscious of and we're trying to work on, and just trying to get like that realisation that the levels maybe shouldn't be as intimidating as they maybe look. So falle pan ni'n wneud y fideos yma, allai rannu nhw gyda chi, chi cael gweld, a falle copio neu rannu gyda'ch disgyblion os chi eisiau.
Gwych, hyfryd. Wel, bydde'n wych bod y ddau ohonoch chi, Adrian a Kylie, falle yn gwneud sesiwn gyda'n myfyrwyr gwasanaethau cyhoeddus, os yn gwybod bod eich amser chi'n bring, ond bydde fe'n dda iddyn nhw glywed yn y gyseuon o'r ffynhonnell, ynddo fe? Gwych, diolch yn fawr iawn.
Diolch am y cwestiwn, Janice. Oes gen i rhywun arall unrhyw cwestiynau?
Mae gen i'n Emyr, os allai ofyn i Kylie, Bagnas Kylie, beth yw'r cwrs 10 awr ar-lein? Ife yr un o'r ganolfan iaith yr un croeso, neu croeso nôl, i ni'n neud rhywbeth yn debyg gyda'r myfyrwyr, a bydde fe'n dda bod ni'n gallu gweud wrthyn nhw, taw dyna bydd y cwrs pe bai chi yn mynd mewn i'r heddlu, fel bod e'n fwy real a fwy perthnasol iddyn nhw, so bydde fe'n dda gyda gwybod beth yw'r cwrs sy'n chi'n defnyddio.
Allai anfon y link i ti ar y wefan dysgu Cymraeg, mae'r un croeso, 10 awr yw e. Mae'n eitha simple i wneud i gwir y gwir. Well, allai I can say it's simple to do because I can speak Welsh, but from feedback people haven't found it too bad. Dyn ni ddim yn wneud i'r heddlu yn profesol, achos mae'r termau plismonna yn bellwaith gallu bod bach rhy cymleth i dechrau gyda. So it's 10 hours ar dysgu Cymraeg, mae fe gyd am ddim, so allai rannu'r link na fyd os ti eisiau.
Na ni, diolch, fi'n credu taw'r un yw e, so...
na fe,
Os chi'n weithio nhw nawr, taw hwnna byddwch chi'n neud pe bach chi'n mynd mewn i'r heddlu, so diolch.
Diolch, oedd hwnna'n ffab.
There'll also be contacts here, as you can see on the last slide. Of course, the other resource I'll be sharing with you is the recording of this very meeting. And I'm sure you'll agree it's been very, very valuable. And I'd like to thank Adrian and Kylie very much for their contribution. I found it very interesting, and it's some really tremendous news there for the sector, which I'm sure young people will be interested in learning about. Ond fel arall, diolch yn fawr iawn i chi gyd am ymuno. Otherwise, thank you all very much for attending, and I hope to see you again in future meetings. Diolch yn fawr iawn.
Diolch.
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 Diolch. Diolch. Ta-ta.